In the quiet of our home, the last rays of the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the living room, my world came crashing down with the shrill ring of a phone. It was an ordinary moment turned extraordinary by what followed. As I answered the call, expecting nothing more than a routine interruption, I was met instead with voices unfamiliar yet piercingly intimate. They weren't speaking to me. It was a misdialed call, a wrong connection that should have meant nothing. Yet the words I overheard shattered the silence of my mundane existence. The voice of a woman, confident and assertive, spoke of love and secrets, of commitments made away from the prying eyes of a lawful wedlock. She spoke of my Simone. My heart raced as the reality dawned on me. The intricate details of an affair unfolded unwittingly before me. The call ended abruptly, but the echo of betrayal lingered, reverberating through the hollows of my soul. Hours later, the confrontation felt surreal. Simone returned home, her face alight with the joy of her day, unaware of the storm brewing within me. My voice trembled as I asked her the questions that burned on my tongue. Her eyes, wide with shock, met mine, and the walls we had built with years of love and trust crumbled with her confession. Simone spoke of Lisa, her friend whose companionship had offered her something I seemingly could not. The betrayal was painful enough, but it was her next words that truly tested the limits of my comprehension and compassion. Simone wanted a child, a dream we had shared together, but now she imagined this future with Lisa, not me. The foundation of our marriage shook under the weight of her desires. I stood there, a man broken by the truths laid bare, struggling to grasp the threads of an unraveling life. The woman I loved, the life we had built, none of it could shield me from the raw, aching vulnerability of that moment. My principles, my beliefs as a lawyer, as a husband, seemed inadequate in the shadow of such profound personal upheaval. As the sun set outside, casting our room into shadows, it wasn't just the light that faded, but also a part of us, a part of what I had believed we were. The future, once bright and promising, now loomed uncertain and dark. How we would navigate this storm, I did not know. But in that moment of painful clarity, I understood that nothing would ever be the same again. In the weeks following our confrontation, Simone's transformation became more pronounced, almost as if her confession had unshackled a part of her that had been lying dormant. The Simone that returned from Africa was not the woman I had married. She was someone reborn, infused with an intensity and freedom that both fascinated and unnerved me. Simone had always had an elegant taste in fashion, but now her choices were bold, vibrant, a visual declaration of her newfound liberation. She draped herself in fabrics that caught the light and eyes of onlookers, her wardrobe a spectrum of colors and patterns that I had never seen her wear before. Each outfit seemed to tell a story of its own, a story of liberation, of a woman rediscovering herself without restraint. But it was not just her clothes that spoke of change. Simone's entire demeanor had shifted. She moved with a confidence that was magnetic, her laughter more frequent and her smile quicker to surface. Yet there was an edge to her, a wildness that seemed to be fueled by the very essence of her transformation. Our intimate moments, once familiar and comforting, became explorations into uncharted territories. Simone introduced the idea of cross-dressing, a concept she had embraced during her time abroad. It was another evening, another moment of vulnerability when she shyly brought out an outfit for me, her eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "It's just something new to try," she whispered, her fingers brushing the fabric that lay folded between us. The outfit was simple, yet striking, a blend of masculine and feminine elements that challenged traditional norms. Hesitant yet curious, I agreed, driven by a desire to understand this new world that Simone was pulling me into. As we dressed, something shifted between us. The air was charged with a nervous energy, a palpable tension that was both exhilarating and daunting. Watching Simone transform before my eyes, slipping into her role with a grace that was both practiced and natural, I felt a mix of emotions swirling within me: confusion, intrigue, and an unexpected surge of closeness. Simone, seeing me in a new light, smiled, her hand reaching out to touch mine. "This is me," she said softly, her voice carrying a weight of sincerity and depth. "This is part of who I am now." That night, as we embraced our new personas, I glimpsed a side of Simone that was raw and real. The barriers between us, once rigid and unyielding, seemed to dissolve, if only for a moment. It was a connection, fragile yet genuine, hinting at the possibility of understanding and acceptance amidst the chaos of change. Simone's journey of transformation was not just about her discovering herself. It was also an invitation for me to explore the depths of my acceptance and love. It challenged everything I knew about us, about marriage, about love. But it also opened a door to a world where boundaries were redefined and desires acknowledged in their most honest form. As I grappled with the newfound complexities of our marriage, a phone call one morning presented a stark diversion from the emotional turmoil at home. The voice on the other end was brisk, formal, a representative from the Justice Department offering me a position fraught with responsibility and visibility, the special prosecutor in a high-profile case of abuse at a women's prison. The weight of the role was clear, and with it came a sharp pang of both opportunity and trepidation. This career opportunity came at a time when my personal life was a labyrinth of emotional pathways, each turn and twist more challenging than the last. The job offered not just a professional leap, but a respite, a chance to bury myself in work, to lose myself in the black and white of law where the grays of my marriage could not reach me. Yet, the very thought of accepting it felt like a betrayal, a step away from Simone at a time when the gaps between us needed bridging, not widening. As I sat at our dining table, the offer letter unopened before me, the morning light filtered through the window, casting long shadows over the paper. It was more than a job offer. It was a crossroad, each path leading to a vastly different horizon. On one hand, diving into the case could shield me from the immediate pain of confronting our issues, offering the cold comfort of distance and distraction. On the other, it could mean stepping back when Simone perhaps needed me most, when our marriage required all hands on deck. The moral dilemma gnawed at me. The case involved serious allegations of misconduct, women who had been marginalized, their voices stifled behind bars. It demanded a prosecutor not just of legal acumen, but of profound ethical commitment. Could I be that person when my own life was in disarray? Could I stand for justice when I felt so personally wronged? The decision was heavy, laden with implications both personal and professional. As I pondered, Simone's newfound voice echoed in my thoughts. She was discovering her truth, unabashed and unafraid. Perhaps in taking on this role, I could find a piece of my own truth, not as a husband grappling with betrayal, but as a man of principle standing against injustice. With a deep breath, I picked up the letter, the paper crisp in my hands. Signing on to this role might distance me from Simone, but it could also bring a new sense of purpose, a new identity beyond the confines of our troubles. It was a gamble, with stakes high and outcomes uncertain, but as I penned my acceptance, it was clear that this was not just about escaping our problems. It was about embracing the chance to redefine who I was, in the courtroom and beyond, even if it meant navigating the heartache from a distance. This choice was mine to make, and with it, I stepped into a new chapter, one fraught with challenges but also ripe with the potential for growth and resolution. In a determined effort to mend the fraying edges of our marriage, I suggested couples counseling. It felt like a last resort, a final bid to understand and perhaps salvage the intricate tapestry of our relationship. Simone agreed, albeit with a hesitation that spoke volumes about the distance between us. The counseling sessions were held in a modest, warmly lit room, a stark contrast to the cold uncertainty that had come to define our interactions. We sat together, yet apart, on a plush sofa that seemed to swallow us in its depths. The therapist, a middle-aged woman with a gentle demeanor, invited us to share openly, to unravel the complexities that had entangled our lives. It was in this safe, neutral space that Simone began to peel back the layers of her transformation. Her voice was soft but firm as she delved into her experiences in Africa, a place that had reshaped her worldview and her understanding of herself. She spoke of the communities she'd encountered, the stark beauty of the landscapes, and the liberating anonymity of being so far from home. Most crucially, she talked about Lisa, her guide in more ways than one. Lisa had been her confidant, a friend who had become a mirror reflecting back a version of Simone she had never dared to acknowledge. It was Lisa who introduced Simone to cross-dressing, an experience that had initially surprised her with its intensity of freedom and self-expression. As I put on those clothes, it wasn't just about dressing differently. It was like I was seeing myself clearly for the first time, Simone shared, her eyes alight with the recollection. Lisa helped me see that there are so many ways to be true to yourself. The revelation was a jolt to me, unsettling yet profoundly important. I struggled to mesh this image of Simone with the woman I thought I knew. Yet, as she continued, her words painted a picture of someone yearning to be understood and accepted, not just by others, but by herself. I listened, a tumult of emotions swirling within me, jealousy, confusion, and a reluctant fascination with her journey. In our previous attempts to reconnect, we had sidestepped the depth of her transformation, but here, in the counselor's office, the full scope of her exploration into cross-dressing was laid bare. It wasn't just a hobby or a mere interest, it was a profound expression of her innermost self, a declaration of identity that she had been too apprehensive to share fully. Feeling a mix of vulnerability and courage, I spoke up. Maybe I could understand better if I saw it through your eyes. Maybe I could try it too. The words surprised even me, but once spoken, they felt like a bridge, a possible path back to each other. Simone's response was a mixture of shock and relief, her smile shaky but genuine. "Really?" she asked, as if she could hardly believe it. "Yes, really," I affirmed, a sense of commitment settling over me. If cross-dressing was a part of her truth, then understanding it could be a step towards understanding the woman I loved. That decision marked a turning point for us. It wasn't just about the clothes, it was about opening up to each other's worlds, exploring the boundaries of our identities together, and, perhaps, finding a way back to each other through the shared vulnerability of discovery and acceptance. As the day of our role reversal date night approached, a knot of apprehension tightened in my stomach. Simone's enthusiasm was palpable, her energy infectious, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of venturing into completely uncharted waters. The idea of cross-dressing, once so foreign, was now a tangible commitment I had made, a commitment to step into Simone's shoes, quite literally, to see the world through her eyes. Simone took charge of the preparations with a tender meticulousness that was both comforting and daunting. She selected an outfit for me, her choices deliberate, aiming to not just dress me up, but to express a part of her identity through me. The clothes lay on our bed, a soft cascade of fabrics that were both alien and intriguing. A sleek, elegant dress paired with delicate accessories and shoes that seemed too slender, too dainty to support my unaccustomed frame. The process of getting dressed was transformative. Simone's hands were steady as she helped me, her touch gentle and reassuring. There was a vulnerability in her eyes, a hope that this experience would open my eyes, bridge the gap that had grown between us. As layers of my usual attire were replaced with her selections, I felt a shedding of not just clothes, but preconceptions, the barriers I had built around definitions of masculinity and identity. When I looked in the mirror, the reflection staring back was unfamiliar yet enlightening. I was not just dressed as a woman, I was momentarily stripped of the gender norms I had unconsciously clung to all my life. The initial discomfort gave way to a profound introspection. "How do you feel?" Simone asked, her voice a soft whisper. "It's different. More than just the clothes. It's like stepping into a different perspective," I admitted, meeting her eyes in the mirror. The empathy that blossomed in that moment was unexpected. I began to grasp the liberating thrill Simone described, the freedom from the usual confines of self that she had found so transformative. Our date night was a quiet affair at a secluded, understanding venue known for its privacy and acceptance of diverse expressions. Being out in public, albeit in a safe space, added another layer of depth to the experience. It was one thing to dress in the privacy of our home, quite another to interact with the world. The evening was filled with shared glances and quiet conversations, each moment a step towards understanding. Simone watched me throughout, her gaze mixed with affection and a trace of anxiety, as if she worried how the experience would settle within me. But as the night unfolded, my initial awkwardness was replaced by a sense of solidarity with her experiences. I realized this was more than just an unusual date. It was a journey into the heart of my partner's world, a world she had embraced with courage and authenticity. That night, as we returned home, there was a shift in the air, a softening of the spaces between us. My journey into the unexpected had not just altered my view on gender and identity, it had opened a door to deeper emotional connections with Simone. The empathy and understanding forged in the vulnerability of that experience became a new foundation upon which we could start rebuilding our fractured relationship. As we navigated the delicate pathways of healing and rediscovery in our relationship, my professional life took a dramatic turn that thrust us once again into the eye of the storm. The high-profile prison scandal I had been deeply engrossed in began to reveal its complex layers, and with each document, each testimony, the weight of the case grew heavier. But nothing prepared me for the moment when the professional collided with the personal in the most unexpected and harrowing way. It was late one evening, the dim light of my office lamp casting long shadows over the piles of case files that surrounded me. My focus was absolute as I sifted through evidence, piecing together the misconduct and systemic failures that had plagued the prison. That's when I came across it, a name familiar and jarring against the stark backdrop of legal documents. Lisa. My heart stalled, my mind reeling from the implications. Lisa, Simone's close friend, and the third vertex of the triangle that had nearly torn my marriage apart, was now a part of my investigation. According to the evidence, she was potentially involved in facilitating contraband into the prison, a serious accusation that added a sinister tint to her character. The discovery felt like a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. How could Lisa, the woman who had influenced Simone so profoundly, be involved in something so nefarious? And what did this mean for Simone? Had she known? The questions multiplied, each more unsettling than the last. With a heavy heart, I brought the information home. The atmosphere was tense as I shared my findings with Simone. Her reaction was one of shock, her face draining of color as she listened. "I had no idea," she whispered, her voice trembling with the impact of the revelation. The room filled with a thick silence, the kind that suffocates, as we both processed the implications. This new layer of betrayal cast a dark shadow over the tentative steps we had taken toward reconciliation. Trust, already fragile, was now further strained by the possibility of deeper deceptions. Simone's connection with Lisa, once a point of personal exploration and identity, now seemed like a gateway to potential complicity in criminal activities. The ensuing days were fraught with tension. I continued my investigation with a heavy heart, the lines between my duty as a prosecutor and my turmoil as a husband blurring into an exhausting gray. Each piece of evidence against Lisa felt like a personal betrayal, and each night I returned home to Simone, the air thick with unspoken questions. It was in these moments of crisis that clarity began to emerge, painful yet necessary. We realized that our relationship had to be built on new grounds of transparency and honesty. We needed to face not only the emotional and identity explorations that had defined recent months, but also the stark realities of our connections and the impacts they had on our lives. This period of turmoil forced us both to confront the reality of our situation. For me, it was a time of deep introspection about what I truly wanted from our marriage and what I was willing to forgive. For Simone, it was a test of her own truths, her loyalties, and the life she envisioned for herself. Together, we had to decide if the love and understanding that had once brought us together were enough to navigate through this storm of betrayal and revelation. The resolution of our shared struggles and the scandal I was deeply entrenched in marked a pivotal juncture in both our lives. As the intricate web of deceit and misconduct within the prison system unraveled, so too did the emotional complexities that had tangled Simone and me in a suffocating embrace of doubt and pain. It was a period dense with revelations and decisions, each carrying the weight of potential new beginnings, or the end of our shared path. In the solitude of my office, surrounded by the remnants of a case that had consumed my every waking hour, I faced a profound decision. The investigation had reached its conclusion, culminating in significant legal actions against those involved, including Lisa. The revelations about her involvement had cast a long shadow, one that reached far beyond the confines of legal repercussions, seeping into the very fabric of my marriage. With the professional demands now easing, I was left to ponder the personal crossroads before me. The choice was stark and laden with consequence: to continue in my role, pursuing further high-profile cases that demanded an all-consuming focus, or to step back, to recalibrate my professional ambitions with the needs of my personal life, particularly my marriage to Simone. This career, though fulfilling, had often isolated me, and now more than ever, I felt the pull towards healing and unity over accolades and achievement. Simone, for her part, faced her own crucible. The dream of having a child had always been a shared vision between us, but her journey had diverged, tangled with Lisa's influence and the newfound expressions of her identity. With Lisa now discredited and facing legal consequences, Simone had to reassess where her loyalties and desires truly lay. The prospect of building a family under such turbulent circumstances forced her to confront the viability and morality of her desires. As we sat across from each other one evening, the room bathed in the gentle glow of twilight. It felt as though we were truly seeing each other for the first time in a long while. We spoke openly and honestly, our words tinged with the pain of the past, yet hopeful for the future. Simone expressed her deep remorse over the complications her actions had wrought, her voice breaking with the weight of her realization. "I've lost sight of us," she admitted, her eyes meeting mine, searching for a flicker of forgiveness. "I want to find our way back, if you'll have me." In that moment, something shifted, a softening, a tentative step towards reconciliation. We decided to start anew, not as the same people who had once naively vowed to honor and cherish without understanding the true challenges such promises could entail, but as individuals transformed by adversity, more aware and more understanding of each other's complexities. We agreed to put aside the plans for children until we could rebuild the trust and love that needed to be the foundation of our family. Instead, we committed to rediscover each other, to support one another in our individual journeys of identity and fulfillment. It was a resolution not marked by grand gestures, but by quiet commitments and the understanding that our path forward would require continuous effort and open hearts. Our story was not concluding with neat finality, but was instead beginning anew, with the promise of growth and the understanding that love, in its truest form, is not static but evolves with each challenge and every tear mended together. This was our resolution, our promise to each other to rebuild, to renew, and to rise from the ashes of our old selves, bearing scars but also bearing hope. The dawn of our fresh start arrived not with sweeping declarations or dramatic gestures, but with quiet acceptance and gentle understanding. As Simone and I navigated the aftermath of our tumultuous journey, the crisp clarity of our decisions provided a foundation for rebuilding. It was a time for reflection, for rediscovery, and most importantly, for renewal. We had chosen to remain together, a decision not made lightly but with a profound sense of commitment to the possibilities of what our renewed relationship could bring. This decision was rooted in a deeper understanding of ourselves and each other, recognizing the transformations we had both undergone. We were no longer the same people who had vowed to share a life together so many years ago. We were individuals who had been reshaped by our experiences, our mistakes, and our personal revelations. In this new chapter, our home became a sanctuary of open communication and mutual respect. We established new rituals that fostered closeness and allowed for individual expression. Mornings were often spent in quiet companionship over coffee, sharing plans for the day, and discussing our thoughts and feelings openly. These moments, though simple, were profound in their ability to bridge the gaps that had once seemed insurmountable. Simone, with her newfound understanding of herself, pursued activities that aligned with her identity exploration. She engaged in community groups that celebrated diverse expressions of identity and offered support to others navigating their own journeys. Her involvement not only enriched her own life, but also brought new dimensions to our conversations and shared experiences. I, too, found myself changed. The decision to step back from the high-intensity demands of my career allowed me to rediscover passions I had long neglected. I took up painting, a hobby that provided a therapeutic outlet and a way to express the myriad emotions that words sometimes could not capture. This creative pursuit became a symbol of my own transformation, a way to visually interpret the world as I now saw it, colored by the experiences of the past and hopes for the future. Together, we explored new aspects of intimacy, not just physically, but emotionally and intellectually. Our relationship became a canvas on which we painted our dreams, fears, and aspirations, each stroke guided by a deeper appreciation of the other's complexities. The community we built around us reflected our values and our journey. We became advocates for open dialogue about identity and relationships, hosting gatherings and workshops that provided safe spaces for others to share and learn. Our story, once a private struggle, became a testament to the power of resilience and understanding in the face of adversity. As time passed, the sharp edges of our past pains softened into the background, not forgotten, but integrated into the mosaic of our life together. We emerged not just as survivors of our trials, but as architects of a renewed partnership that celebrated our individual growth as much as our togetherness. This fresh start was not the end of our story, but a continuation, a promise renewed each day to forge a path filled with compassion, understanding, and love. It was a testament to the belief that even the most profound wounds could heal, and from them, new life could blossom, a life rich with depth, understanding, and shared joy.